Hello everybody, I'm Dan. Welcome to my Java and Raspberry Pi programming tutorial series. The order in which my tutorials are organized on both my website at pijava.com and my YouTube playlist is designed to maximize learning by building on concepts from prior tutorials. This tutorial basically is the Land Cruiser Remote Control Part 2 for the iPhone. Let's go ahead and open up my web browser, my website, pijava.com, select Pi Programming, and then we'll scroll down here to the Remote Control Part 2 for the iPhone. Now in my last tutorial, Remote Control Part 2 tutorial, which I demonstrated the Android version of the remote control along with the Raspberry Pi acting as the receiver. For the first 16 minutes of that video, I discussed various things such as how all the electronics are configured and creating and running the RCServer class as the receiver on the Raspberry Pi. Everything during the first half of that video will be identical, so rather than duplicate all that work, I've chosen to pick up this tutorial at the 16-minute mark, which is where the iPhone code will begin. So if you haven't seen that tutorial, the Android tutorial, then watch that one for the first 16 minutes. And when you get to the Android portion, head back to the... When you get to the Android portion, which will basically be minute number 16, right, head back over to this one and we'll just go over the iPhone right there. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is, let's minimize that and come over to the Raspberry Pi. So I'm going to remote it into the Raspberry Pi here. And I've already got the, I was doing some testing there, I already got the RCServer thing running there. So if we just go ahead and do like clear, hit the up arrow a couple times. So you want to type in sudo java -d java.library.path equals dot, right? And then RCServer is the name of the class that we're going to run. So it's listening on port 4141. Now over here, I have set up my iPhone as a wireless hotspot there. So now I've got the Raspberry Pi actually connected to it. And so it has an IP address here. Let me just, let me clear this screen here. And I'm going to do ifconfig, right? And on the wireless LAN 0 here, I've got 172.20.10.2. You'll need to note your IP address when you connect it up to your iPhone there, because you'll be putting that into the source code there for the Xcode. All right. Show you real quick what I've got going on with this here. I've got my network cable plugged into the Raspberry Pi. So that I can, of course, emulate it, remote desktop into it there. And then, of course, the Raspberry Pi is connected via Wi-Fi to my wireless hotspot for the iPhone there. All right, we will now head over and start the iPhone programming here. So let's pop over to my Mac here. I'm just remoted into that one here. And so basically, I'm picking right back up where I was at in part 1 there. And we're going to pull over the website here. So I've got all so I'm on the same tutorial here. And I've got all this is the RCServer class, which is running on the Raspberry Pi. And went over all that in the Android tutorial there. Now we're going to come down here and we're going to grab some source code here real quick. So I am going to grab the RC client source code, but before I do that, I'm going to go over just a couple of things here. I did rename a few things there, so I've got now a function called steering and a function called throttle. So that's a little new in this one here. And in addition to that, in the close-up function, I'm actually writing out to the socket, I'm writing steering 1400, which will put the steering back into full forward, and the throttle at 111,000, which will put it basically back into braking mode. Okay, and that's no matter where we are in the controlling the steering or whatnot, it'll just kind of stop if we hit the close up there. So let's go ahead and grab all this code here, and we'll copy that and come over to the RC client class here. So here's the old one, and we'll just come right in here and we'll paste it. All right, so far so good. Now we'll go into the, let's go into the view controller next. And back to Safari here. And we'll grab all of the source code for the view controller. Copy, and let's paste it. Actually, you know what? I don't want to copy and paste that because I'll lose some of my links there with from the storyboard here. I really actually only want, I didn't add much to this class there. It's all pretty much the same there. I did change the turn to steering, right? So let's just change that. Yeah, I definitely don't want to have to redo all these little links. That'll take me longer than cutting and pasting because I really only have just like one little new thing here. And that is the slider throttle. So we'll copy that and paste that. All right. If you did accidentally paste it before I said, no, let's not do that, you can hit like your Command Z there, and that'll undo stuff several times if you need to. All right, let's go ahead and paste that right about there. Add a little spacing. And now make sure that you change this IP address to whatever your IP address is there, okay? And then I'm gonna add a couple more things here to the main storyboard here. So let's go ahead, and what I'm gonna do here first of all is I'm going to clear the constraints on the stop, and I'm gonna move him move this button all the way down here. Then I'm going to add some new constraints. I'm just going to set this bottom constraint there, which will add that one, and come right over here, and then I'm going to horizontally set that horizontal in the container, and then the start button here, let's clear its constraints as well. Let's drag it down right about there. That looks good. Let's add just this constraint right here, and let's do the same thing horizontally. Center that. All right, then we'll do our little refresh. Now I'm going to add a label here. I'm just going to put this like right about there, and we'll change the color on that here. And we'll change this to throttle, and let's make it like, I don't know, like 24. That sounds good. Let's add some constraints. Let's do one from the top, and let's horizontally center that and do the little refresh. Excuse me. All right, so let's add one more. That's a little too large. I don't want it to be that big. There we go. That's a little closer to the size of the angle one up there. Now let's add one more thing to that. Let's add another slider here for the steering. No, I don't want that. Why did it pop that up? Okay. It's going crazy right on me at the second there. Okay, there we are. And constraints on this one here. Let's come down here, and here, if that works, let's change this value to 20 and this value to 20. Right, and that looks pretty good there. All right, let's refresh that. And then let's split our screen here. Now on the throttle here, I'm gonna hold down the control and drag this right over here, and we're gonna add a new outlet, and I'm gonna call this LBL label throttle. Okay, and we'll connect that. All right, that fixed that little error there, and now we've got, what I've got to do now is just hold down the control key and drag this over to here, okay? And you'll notice that on the sender, I've got a UI slider instead of, just the typical any. You would have to physically change that if you just drug that over and created an action anyway there. Okay, so now we're pretty much, that pretty much does it for the stuff there. Let's go ahead and switch this up to my 6S Plus here, and let's run this. All right, there we go. The application has started here. Run it one more time here. All right, okay. Coming back over here, I'm going to minimize this. I'm going to bring up my Raspberry Pi here. We're done with this window. Let's go ahead and exit on that. So I'm going to leave this up here. Actually, what I'll do is I'll do a Control-C just to clear this off. We'll do a clear, and hit the up arrow a couple times, start it back up. All right, and I don't want that to take up the whole entire screen, but let's go ahead and pop up this. Resize that up a little bit there. Okay, I think that's pretty good. So we'll be able to see the controls that are going on over here. So here is what the app, of course, looks like now. And I'm going to go ahead and hit the... I'm right-handed, so I always have trouble with this here. Try not to get too much glare on the screen here. So go ahead and hit Start. And so you can see over here in the window over here, you know, we've got our work connection accepted there. So now if we turn the steering, right, and I did fix the steering. I had it wrong in some previous videos there, but I've gone back and adjusted all of that too as well. So we can do our steering from left to right, and it's very, very fast, very responsive. So, and I'm gonna go ahead and just turn that full on to the, should move back to the center again there. And so the throttle here. Oh, well, of course, I did forget to do one thing. So let's go ahead and hit stop on that, which will disconnect it, close our socket, and it's listening here on port 4141. I did forget to set the value of the second slider there. So let's pop back over here, plug back up my phone. Okay, and I don't need pictures there, I go. All right. So our value here, let's talk about the value here real quick. I'm going to pop this back over. So on our steering max and minimum there, we have 81,000 to 141 with 111 right in the middle there. And we don't want all of those values to go in there. So we're just going to pop back over here to the view controller. You can see that on the slider throttle, I get the value and I multiply it by 1,000. So we're just basically going to step from 81 to 141 and do the slider position right in the middle at 111 because we don't want to send all that across. That would be crazy. So we're going to set the minimum at 81, the maximum at 141, and the value at 111. Okay. All right, and let me just double check those figures. 81, 141, and 111. All right, let's run this again. Okay. And we'll just come over here, minimize that. All right. There we go again. Hit the start. And steering. Looks good there. Throttle. We can really slow it down. We have pretty good precision and control over this here. Let's get into braking mode. Do reverse here. And then we go forward. We can bring that back, full. Okay, so there you pretty much have it there. So of course the this is a really, really ugly interface here on the for the iPhone and the Android. And so in future videos, I will be actually, cleaning this up, adding some cool little graphics to it, a steering wheel, and some other stuff there. But in the next video that I shoot, I'm going to basically hook in because of course I currently have the Raspberry Pi powered up over here. I'm going to hook it into the phone bank charger here and I'll just tool it around the neighborhood here and run around the neighborhood and take some video shots of it. So anyway, that'll pretty much do it for this tutorial. I'm going to go ahead and minimize that, and no real final thoughts on that. Thanks for watching.